breaking overnight, a major upset in New York City's Democratic primary for mayor. 33-year-old state assemblyman Zohran Mamdani is now poised to win after former Governor Andrew Cuomo, who was considered the frontrunner in the race, conceded.
I will fight for a city that works for you, that is affordable for you, that is safe for you. I will work to be a mayor you will be proud to call your own.
And it is a big moment. Important to note that Mamdani did not reach the 50% threshold of the vote, though. So the race will be decided by ranked choice votes officially starting July 1st, as CNN projects. I want to bring in CNN's Gloria Pazmino, who joins me now. Okay, for those just tuning in, how did this upset happen? What happens next?
Well, Omar, I think three primary points that we should touch on. The first, I think, is, of course, the historic nature of what we watched last night, right? Zohran Mamdani is a relatively newcomer legislator here in New York State. He's only served for 2 terms in the state assembly. He's only 33 years old, but he is on track to make history here in the city of New York, not only as one of the youngest mayors potentially ever to be elected to run City Hall, but also as the city's first Muslim mayor. So that's the first thing. Now, the second thing is that these were 2 vastly different campaigns. We had Andrew Cuomo mounting his political comeback, and we had Zohran Mamdani, who started out essentially polling at 1% in many of the polls. And little by little, with each passing week, he continued to inch upward. Now, very different campaigns. Andrew Cuomo ran a campaign that sort of assumed his win in the end. As you said, he was considered to be the favorite many months during this primary campaign. Zohran Mamdani really took it to the streets, and I think last night showed that it made a difference. He ran a very energetic campaign. On the Friday before the election, just to give you one example, he walked the entire length of Manhattan trying to connect with New Yorkers. He was very active on social media, and he really got the attention, I think, very importantly, of young people here in New York City who gravitated towards his campaign. The third point, I think what we are all watching for here this morning is how are National Democrats going to react? Because I do think that this race gives us something to talk about in terms of where is this Democratic going next. We had the establishment line up behind Andrew Cuomo and the liberal left wing of the party line up behind Mamdani. Bernie Sanders, Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez endorsed him. So now we're going to see, do the party leaders embrace him, or do they say this was some sort of fluke and that they need to continue on the path they have been in recent months?
And what's interesting moving forward is, I mean, the incumbent mayor in New York City, Eric Adams, is running as an independent. So we could have this set up where the biggest clash or a general election actually really matters in New York City. So,
which is new in New York, and it shows that it's not over yet.
Yeah. Gloria Pazmino, always appreciate it. Thanks for being here.
I wanted to talk about this because it is even the strikes in Israel and how to talk about Israel came up in this New York race. And it's also a moment where you have a Democratic socialist who's come to the fore. I don't know who wants to take this first, but what's your initial reaction to
Sure. Well, first of all, candidate quality clearly matters. And this is one high quality candidate. And he spoke to issues that the base voters of the Democratic Party.
Next to a former governor? I mean, this is a guy who knows how to run.
I mean, everybody watching this was wondering where he was on the stump, whereas Mamdani was everywhere, right? He was very energetic, very effective at messaging, spoke to core issues that people care about. When it comes to Israel and Jewish issues, though, he did freak out to be you know, a little loose in the words about it, but he freaked out the Jewish voters in New York. Mm-hmm. And there's a lot of concerns that he's hostile to Israel, and there are a lot of concerns that he's going to sort of look the other way when Jewish New Yorkers feel threatened, and I think he's going to have to address those a lot more directly. He skated around that quite a bit.
There's so many elements here because on the one hand, you have a 33-year-old Democratic socialist, and it feels like this is an AOC, Bernie Sanders, young movement wing of the Democratic Party.
And she did support him, so this
absolutely.
is not,
Is it going to have, does it say anything about our national politics? And I think that's why we are sitting here talking about it. Is he going to become a lightning rod that Republicans nationally are going to say this is the Democratic Party, and can Republicans use that in the midterms? And then on the other hand, I think there is a candidate quality issue. You have Eric Adams, extremely compromised, now running as an independent. Cuomo, very compromised over the sexual harassment problems, and this young, vibrant candidate who walked the length of Manhattan and is
so
talking
just
about
not compromised, basically, is the bar.
Well, he's not those two.
Let me bring Doug in for the last moment because I
He's
remember.
compromised because, essentially New York is the largest Jewish city in the world. Bigger than Jerusalem, bigger than Tel Aviv, more Jews in New York City than either of those cities, maybe even combined. So Mamdani does have a problem moving forward there. But on the issue of candidate quality, yes, very clearly Andrew Cuomo had a lot of personal issues. But what was the reason for him to run? What was his real campaign message? It seemed that the only reason he was a candidate was because he wanted back in.
Joining me now to talk more, Democratic Congresswoman Debbie Dingell of Michigan. Thank you for being here this morning.
Great to be with you.
One of the reasons why I'm excited to talk to you is because you are a leader in the Congression Progressive Caucus. And this is a moment where you have a Democratic socialist who has kind of moved to the forefront, where establishment Democrats had backed Cuomo. Why do you think those establishment Democrats were backing Cuomo, and was that a misread of the room, so to speak?
So this is one of the things that I've been saying for years. You're starting to hear more people say it. You will recall that I predicted that Hillary Clinton was going to lose in 2016 and was the bad girl of the Democratic Party and the Debbie Downer, and unfortunately I was right. What I noticed about these two candidates, one was out, one was about. They were talking with people. They were using new forms of media. They were using podcasts, social media. And Governor Cuomo ran a very traditional consultant ad, used paid media, and you didn't see him out and about. So while I do think some of his ideas are exciting, people are worried about let's be clear. People are worried about the cost of living. They're worried about caregiving. They're worried about they can have a job. They can find affordable housing.
Yeah.
All those issues were there, and he talked about them. People, I'm afraid, are going to try to turn this into, what does this mean? I think it shows that Democrats have got to start getting out and listening to people.
Is this a New York win, or can you see more candidates like this gaining traction around the country?
I think that what we have to look at is how he campaigned and the issues that he talked about and his ability to meet with a lot of people.
Right,
and
he was
to
talking
be
about
out.
free buses, talking about
And I don't
freezing
think-
rents, but
some people are
affordability.
Affordability is what we need to be talking about. Some people are going to try to pin it up. He's a communist. What he is talking to people about what they care about, and he's talking to people. He's out and about. It's what I'm trying to encourage in my Democratic caucus. I want every member of the Democratic caucus to walk into a union hall or go to a meeting with union workers in the month of August. Get out there.